Hello, this is Micheal with Weeabuds, and this is the first episode of the official podcast.
Howdy. Micheal is joined by Tristan Grigolite. I'm one of the main members of Weeabuds, and so we're hoping to be doing these podcasts every once in a while. So we're going to kick off our end of the year conversation about video games and anime. I guess it makes more sense for us to kind of take a step back, right? Let's talk a little bit about Weeabuds and how we kind of came up with it. Honestly, there had been some recent articles, reviews, and like community discussion around certain games that I just don't think everyone's perspectives were being accurately represented, and I felt that maybe we had a specific view, right? And that's where you kind of came up with the idea, Mike, of setting up Weeabuds. Maybe you could speak a little bit more about the idea behind Weeabuds.
Yeah, both of us, we come from a background where we really appreciate Japanese-oriented games and anime. And so we really wanted to express our views and news about the types of games that we find interesting. To that end, that's how we came up with Weeabuds.
Yeah, I'd say we're pretty big Nintendo fans for a long time. I think that's probably been the majority of the games I've played in recent time has been like Nintendo. Missed out on the PS3. I personally have never owned an Xbox. Actually, I owned the first Xbox for like one or two games. I only bought one game for Xbox. And you had Xbox 360, right, Mike?
I did have an Xbox 360.
Your favorite one was Nuts and Bolts, a Nintendo, originally a Nintendo IP.
Yeah, like, I don't care what people say. I think Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts is the best game in the series, and I'll stick to that opinion as long as I live. Yeah,
I liked Rare, for sure. I liked the Donkey Kong series. I think I may have played Banjo-Kazooie at a Toys R Us or something, or one of those little demo stations, and I never got into it, didn't have it. Only had a limited selection of N64 games. So I take your word. You showed me Nuts and Bolts once. It looked like a high-quality piece of work, but who knows?
The rest of the games I had on Xbox, they're just Square Enix's mediocre offerings from that generation. They're doing a lot better nowadays, I'll say that, but they're still not quite there.
So I guess, okay, now we can kind of jump a little bit back into what we were going to do. And so we were going to talk about the end of the year and just our perspective on games that are coming up in 2020 as well as anime, and just talk about what we liked in 2019 first. So let's kick us off, Mike.
Let's start off with anime. It's kind of a catch-up year for us, I feel. There's mostly watching anime that had been out already, but we hadn't really had a chance to watch. Big one this year was, for me, was Dragon Ball Super. I didn't really watch it as it was coming out in Japan, so I spent a lot of time watching the Tournament of Power arc. We're still not quite there. We're only up to, I think, episode like 92 or something. It's right before they introduced Golden Frieza as a team member.
I know we caught the end of Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power arc. When did that end? It was 2018, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I think it was 18.
So in Japanese, they had concluded it at that time. And so we started... I kind of actually hadn't been watching Dragon Ball Super, and I jumped in when I heard that Frieza went golden, which I felt... like he had done it in the revival of F arc. But then they had him come back as an actual badass when he joined the team in the Tournament of Power arc. And I just thought it was amazing, just taking that character and kind of injecting him with a new level of seriousness and this kind of new role. They did some really interesting work, and anyone who's seen the end of that arc knows that they kind of fulfilled on that promise. I think they did a really good job with Frieza. And I mean, we also saw a big thing for 2019 in regards to Super was the Brawly movie, right?
That's right. And I think it's the best Dragon Ball movie. It definitely felt the most Toriyama-esque. I had a lot of pretty good action, a lot of really good humor. Broly didn't suck this time. He was a pretty cool character. A little bit confused about how a base level Saiyan can keep up with a Super Saiyan Blue, but I can work with it. Chilai was a pretty cool character. Frieza was horrifying in it.
Oh yeah, Frieza's callousness towards life took a new spin. In the past, when he'd be that way with people like in the original anime, he sort of would also have a pettiness or an anger associated with it. But this time we saw like a really cold, kind of just complete disregard for life when he took out Broly's. We spoiler alert, right, for anyone who hasn't seen this thing already, but yeah. He killed Broly's dad. Frieza killed Broly's dad. It was ridiculous, to say the least.
It was a franchise high moment and how horrifying it was.
Yeah. So Dragon Ball Super, really kind of interesting. So kind of, we had previously to this conversation spoke about Attack on Titan. We watched a lot of Attack on Titan in 2019, and that is something that we kind of enjoyed. I really liked what they did with the Beast Titan and that whole fight between Beast Titan and Erwin freaking dying. Oops, spoiler alerts. Yeah, so it was a really rough year for people who were Erwin fans. And Captain Levi,
still best character in the show.
He's so super badass. I can't say that that Erwin is the best character anymore because he's dead. It's going to be really interesting because this was the year that they took the show and they really spun it around and kind of like grounded it to a more kind of like political or like social concern related to I don't know. There was an argument is like there's a fascist element to
like a right wing kind of romanticizing. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, I guess we don't want to jump and start reading. For anyone who's read the manga, you know some serious stuff has happened.
I don't know anything.
There's some serious stuff that's happened. I don't know what it is. I just know it got ridiculous. But it's been getting ridiculous in the anime, and so this is going to be... we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit once we get into 2020. But Attack on Titan was really cool.
Going into Season 3, which I thought Season 3 was probably the best season overall, I had my concerns because they refocused back on... Aaron's basement, and the way that the show played up that basement, they had to have like an extremely important reveal there, or else the whole show would fall flat. And oh boy, they pulled it off.
Yeah, I think the initial reveal, everyone was like I would imagine that anyone who's been watching the show was like, okay, yeah, we can tell that there are more people outside of the wall. So like, that's not a big reveal in and of itself. So I guess it fell kind of flat with me initially. And I think we talked a little bit about that where it was just like, well, it is what it is. But then like in subsequent episodes from the reveal where they just kept digging into the lore and just how serious like the reveal was, like what it actually meant and what was outside the wall. It was really good. And it felt like a really good payoff. You got far more lore than you've ever thought you'd get. It was really cool. It was very exciting. The way they ended season 3 was very weighty, very emotional, and I'm really wondering where that show's gonna go. It's gonna be interesting to say the least. That'll be an anime to watch in 2020.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that once we get to 2020.
Not too much, but we will for sure.
Yeah, Attack on Titan's pretty cool, especially that soundtrack. Can't talk about Attack on Titan without shouting out Sawano.
Yeah. Hiroyuki Sawano's soundtrack is shining pinnacle of just awesome anime music. I can't recall anyone that put out something that good that just kind of captures the seriousness or the gravity of those fight scenes. And I remember when you showed me Gundam Unicorn, the OVA.
Both.
Anyway, you showed me that thing, and it was pretty ridiculous. I actually connected with it less for the story and more for the music. There were like really emotional moments that kind of got punctuated by his music. That's how I kind of got like super stoked on him. One of the wonderful things about Attack on Titan, not to dig into too much because we got to move on, it'd be that it's like a 1-2 punch from the musical perspective, because they also have Revo in there.
Oh yeah,
oh my god, they have him doing like the like intro or like ending music sometimes, and it's like really good. And
I think there's only one intro where it's not Revo, and it's
the Larkin Seal or the
Larkin Seal one.
I actually like that one.
That one was good, but
my girlfriend was like, "This is lame." Or
Revo's better. You got to admit Revo's better.
So a similar thing happened to Bravely Default as a series when they tried to push beyond Revo because the schedule didn't work. Things just didn't work out. But we'll talk about we're gonna be swinging back around to talking about Revo again. So we'll get there.
I'm glad that you touched on Gundam Unicorn, because one of the anime that I liked this year a lot was actually a sequel to Gundam Unicorn. It only took them like basically 10 years to do it, but Gundam NT came out this year, and for those not familiar, it was a movie, and it was the next step for the Universal Century timeline. And it's a confusing movie. A lot happens in it, but overall, I gotta see it again, to be honest, because there's just so much that they touched on in that movie that had strong implications for that franchise that it was definitely an interesting movie.
I will say this. So I remember with Gundam Unicorn, I was really hyped because they took the OVA and turned it into a series.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like wondering how they were going to do that. But I was very glad that they did it because it was a good story. Now, imagine taking like one of those Gundam Unicorn... Take the Gundam Unicorn OVA as like in its entirety, mm-hmm. and compact all of that content into a single freaking movie. That's basically what Gundam NT was. It had so much stuff packed in there. I know we talked a little bit about how you should go back and rewatch it. I know I was thinking that would be a good thing to do for myself, but what do you did you happen to get a chance to do a rewatch on that?
I have not yet, but as a Gundam fan, I need to, because especially since one of my favorite elements of Gundam is its emphasis on transhumanism, particularly its exploration of the concept of evolved humans called new types. And that movie is a new type movie.
Oh man, it expands on the new type lore, like it just like takes a huge leap forward for whatever they were going. It goes like heavy into the sci-fi element at some point, and it was pretty awesome.
The thing that I thought was crazy about it is they'd say like probably like just ridiculous comments that have such strong implications for the franchise, and it'll be like a throwaway line. I'm like, wait, did they just say that?
Yeah. It was like, wait a second, I didn't catch. And so now, if I recall, Hiroyuki Sawano, the composer, for Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic work there. He also actually did Xenoblade Chronicles X. He did the soundtrack for that. And that soundtrack, if you played through that game, that soundtrack was boss. And I basically liked Xenoblade Chronicles X a lot more than it deserved to be liked, probably because of the Sawano soundtrack. And I heard a lot of Americans actually complain about that soundtrack. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles had some pretty sick, like the initial one, the first one had some sick music in it. It had
Ace, I think.
Ace, Tri-Ace were one of the people. It also had Yoko Shimomura do the title theme and various other themes, and it's just fantastic. I don't want to get off track on that, but I remember. But Sawano, back to NT, he did NT, right?
He did do NT.
It was a little bit understated. It wasn't as like sweeping as what we've seen in Unicorn, but that was for me. I didn't catch. But like I just think his Attack on Titan work has been like fantastic. But I had my time to talk about that.
Yeah, we could go on all day about how amazing Sawano is because he is amazing.
Yeah. So just to kind of end it on the NT thing is I know I am nowhere near as big of a Gundam fan as you are. I think my claim on the franchise in terms of love is like G Gundam.
Yeah.
And people will laugh at that. Legitimate Gundam fans will laugh that that's where I'm at.
There's nothing wrong with G Gundam. Matter of fact, they actually just came out with a Blu-ray set in America for it.
Yeah, that's cool. So the reason I bring it up, real quick, is, imagine how packed Gundam NT was, and how that probably deserves the kind of series treatment that Gundam Unicorn got.
Probably.
It's like that had a bunch of OVAs that were pretty meaty, and then you got this small little kind of movie that had so much content packed in it. It just screams for a freaking series to be made, and that's where I'm like, maybe has there been any word on that? Is there anything in that space?
They haven't talked about a series, but if it were to happen, it'd probably be like, oh hey, look, next month we're gonna do a small little TV series adaptation of it or something. Kind of like what they did with Unicorn.
Yeah, that Unicorn one was pretty high quality, so yeah, but I'm interested in seeing what comes next. Oh, so one show that we're a little bit late to the party on that we finally started getting into.
Uh-oh.
Hell yeah. is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What an amazing show, though.
I'd heard of it. It's like a 30-year-old show, but I finally got a chance to watch it, and it's everything I ever wanted in an anime.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous. So JoJo, we actually started from the beginning, and I think there was somebody told me that there was a JoJo manga anime adaptation back in the 90s.
I think it was like don't quote me on this, but I think it was like a canceled OVA.
Okay, because I don't know what that is, but these ones that are within the last 5 years or so. Mm-hmm. And so we started with Phantom Blood. I think it's with Jonathan Joestar. It starts with there's a family called the Joestar family, and like I said, we're pretty late to this, and it's like everybody like all these people they've been talking about JoJo for a very long time. It's very old. It's from the 80s, and but like the anime is pretty stellar too. It's got great music, great animation,
great use of color.
The intro sequences and the ending sequences are fantastic. I think that they're good enough just to watch the show in general. But the writing it's a hilarious and spooky, unsettling show with a lot of action set pieces, and like it's very endearing and honest. It's a heartfelt show. It basically follows this family, this Joestar family, and so each character, the different kind of arcs, story arcs follow, or it's like a different Joestar, and so it's like the first one is in the saga it's the Phantom Blood saga, and it follows Jonathan Joestar, and he's got this kind of crazy rivalry with this evil vampire dude named Dio Brando, and the story there is intense. And then it follows into the next kind of story arc with his grandson, Joseph Joestar. And he's a completely different kind of character. He's like more of a comic relief guy. He's really cool. And there was kind of like body horror-esque stuff in the kind of Phantom Blood arc, but nothing as ridiculous as what was going on in the Battle Tendency arc that had Joseph Joestar, the grandson, in it. basically followed these kind of like trio or what was the one with the fours? They had there was a bunch of these kind of superhuman vampire-esque type beings who could do like horrifying things with their body, and there was all these characters, and it's just so quirky, and it was amazing. And we finished that, and we moved into I hear it's the most popular one with fans, the Stardust Crusader arc with Jotaro Kujo. And he's a bastard to his mom, but he just seems to be so cool and calculated in the way he acts that, like, I guess that's just his thing. It's pretty cool, and it may be the breakout anime star for me, because we're late to the party, and
now we're realizing there's just memes of it all over the internet.
Yeah, it's just memes everywhere. It's got a like kind of interesting take on sexuality too and masculinity. There's definitely, maybe it's less so right now, but we know it gets pretty ridiculous with some of its like just the way it depicts certain things later on. We'll say that. There'll be more to come on that one.
Yeah, JoJo. I think I randomly saw it on Netflix one day, and then I told Tristan, like, hey, you gotta check this out. Months went by, and then finally we both started watching it together, and it's pretty hype. I had my concerns about it, and it's a generational story, so each saga has a very different feel to it, which is risky. But so far, each saga's been better than the last, in my opinion. I especially loved where they took Battle Tendency. What an ending.
Yeah, basically, they won't be able to top the sheer balls out like epicness of that finale. But they'll I get a feeling this is a show, or this is a story that they've kind of evolved and like found ways to get beyond just kind of escalation.
Yeah, I get the feeling that how they, instead of escalating, it's more like they take it a different direction. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. There's definitely some spooky imagery in it, like Tristan said. I was not ready for the amount of body horror that they have in it. There's also some freaky stuff like creepy orangutans and stuff. But,
spooky.
Yeah.
We haven't finished it yet.
We have a long ways to go.
Yeah, we know that the Diamond is Unbreakable arc is out as well, and I also believe Golden Wind, and so that there's quite a lot of content for us to catch up on.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about JoJo?
Nope.
All right, and then before we started watching JoJo, we were watching another show on Netflix called Baki. JoJo kind of overtook it.
Oh yeah.
Which is a shame because Baki is good. In my opinion, it kind of peters out towards the end of the arc on Netflix, but it starts off strong. For those that don't know, it's about what's it called, the Death Row Inmate Saga.
Yeah, the Death Row Inmates. 5
of the most dangerous convicts on the planet break out of jail to go to Japan and lose a fight, and they're so over the top and enjoyable that I was immediately won over. As the show goes on, they kind of start to introduce other characters, and it gets kind of confusing. The things that I liked about it kind of get drowned out by all these other subplots that come out of nowhere. But I still enjoyed it. We're still, I think, 2 episodes away from the ending?
Something like that. Yeah, I remember Sobaki. That was when I had seen some random YouTube clips for, and they were just so ridiculous that when I got the chance to watch it, when they put the dub out for it, there was like it was amazing. Just the way that they commit to like the not the announcer. What is that?
Narrator.
The narrator will like be explaining these ridiculous kind of just some explanations for nearly supernatural occurrences that happen in revolving like fights, and it's just like so ridiculous and over the top. with the way that he explains it. It's like, in 1962, a man named Trevor this found a stash of gold at the bottom of the sea. What people didn't know is that he was actually like 90 something. Or it was just so ridiculous, like them trying to explain different things to justify why we just witnessed something happen. And I just like the commitment. It's a unique kind of thing. And so I'm excited to see more of JoJo. I believe we're going to get another season on Netflix.
You mean Baki?
Yeah. Sorry, Baki. My bad. Yeah, I believe we're gonna get another season of Baki, and so pretty exciting there.
Yeah, going back to the narrator comment, that's definitely my favorite aspect of it. What's trippy about it is that these explanations are so over the top and ridiculous, but at the same time they somehow feel plausible.
That's the value of the show, is they make all, because I don't think anyone's died in that show.
Somehow I don't think so either, but like you'll see like a person's face basically explode.
Yeah.
And then like 2 scenes later they'll show up with like a bunch of scars.
Somebody told me, or had read this, it's like the real heroes in Baki are the doctors.
And those must be like world-class doctors.
Yeah, these are next level doctors. So, okay, well, moving on to, I guess, my final kind of 2019 thing is, I had been, I don't know, I don't recall how I found it. I actually, I do now. I watched, there was this anime on Amazon Prime, and it was like called like Last Hero Inuyashiki or something like that. It was about an old man who gets kind of hit by a spaceship, and at the same time, basically he was just diagnosed with cancer. He gets hit by a spaceship accidentally that had been visiting Earth for some reason or other, and then he gets at the same time some young school kid or like some high school kid. He was in the same park that the spacecraft landed or had crashed, and it killed both of these people. And so to fix it, the aliens kind of put them back together, but put them back together as like these kind of super powered androids that had like basically nearly infinite power. And so it was just very interesting. The show, it's basically about these two kind of characters that are kind of polar opposites, and they kind of do very different things with their powers. And one is like kind of horrifying with what they do, and the other is nice. And the old guy, the main character, is actually an old man, so it's very unique. So the guy who did that show, he had previously done Gantz, which was a show about, or a manga about these people who they die and then they kind of get another chance to live. And so that's a very popular one. I could really talk about Gantz for a bit too, because I read a lot of that manga. All right, and so I was interested in what other work he did, and I had looked up, and he was doing this kind of this manga, which is kind of very odd, and I can't say it's very good, to be honest with you. And it's like nearly a porno. It's nearly like some kind of hentai stuff, and it's like actually it's called Gigant, and it's about kind of a porn actress, an AV star in Japan, who she's like half white, half Japanese, and she's like huge breasts. And that's that was like a huge point, is that she's got huge breasts. That's like a huge point of the manga, which is ridiculous. The actual illustrations are great, but then what he does, which makes it very cheap, is that the backgrounds are actually kind of like superimposed photos of real scenery and stuff in Japan, and then he kind of just puts art on it, and it's really odd. It's jarring. The story is interesting, though. What little of it there is a lot of sex scenes. There's a really strange kind of story where it's basically some kind of strange occurrence happens where the AV star, she kind of gets this device attached to her body that allows her to grow to gigantic size. Simultaneously, there's this kind of event happening where there's a website that people can vote for anything to happen, and And so, like, at one point, kind of people say they want, like, Tokyo to be destroyed by these monsters. Or they want Satan to attack New York. And so anyone who tries to look at the screen that is broadcasting Satan, they just start crying and screaming. They're like, I can't even look at the screen. I don't know why. Oh, my God. And they, like, freak out. And it's, like, really horrifying.
This is Gigants?
This is Gigant, and it's like it's really ridiculous how it's kind of like slowly building up, and I feel like he may have like a broad, like a long-term kind of story, and he really wanted to start with like this hook about this AV actress and this young high school student.
I did not expect it to go in that
and
direction.
It goes and I was really unsettled by the most recent chapter that I read the other day. And I'm really stoked. I'm really excited to see where it goes because now they're like introducing a lot more sci-fi elements and it's starting to kind of actually build a plot. And anyone who had actually watched or read Gigant, or not Gigant, Gantz, knows that the guy is really good at building the sci-fi and the kind of action element to it. And he's really serious. He's known for a lot of like sexual, He's really good at drawing. I'll say that, everybody. So if you want to see something like that looks really good or does something else for you, there's some stuff in very horror oriented, but very like these like beautiful illustrations. So I'm hooked for sure because it's interesting. Very mature. It's mature. It's not for mom. not for your kid, brother. Yeah, I don't know.
That was the final anime you want to talk about for this year?
I think that's for 2019 and 2020. We didn't have too much that we need to talk at length about, but
yeah, there's a few things I do want to highlight.
Yeah, that's good.
Like the big thing for me that I'm really looking forward to is next year in the winter, they're finally coming out with an adaptation of Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway's Flash. It's a 30-year-old book that's a follow-up to Char's Counterattack and pretty well known. They're finally turning it into, I think, a trilogy. And Sawano's confirmed a return for it.
Oh my goodness, Sawano's going to do that as well?
He's going to do all three.
Oh, Sawano's prestige in the anime right now, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, I could imagine.
So I'm looking forward to it. They showed a trailer for it when I went to go see Char's Counterattack in theaters earlier this month. It looks good.
I don't mean to be mean to the Gundam franchise. I'm kind of tertiary. I'm on the side, far at the edge, right?
I think you're just a Sawano fan.
Yeah, I think I'm the Sawano fan is what it is. I'm a fan of the mech stuff. Maybe not as much as I used to think I was. I really like mechs. I do. I like a lot of the mech design. I'm more on the Zaku's than I am the Gundams. Though.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too. That's not the wrong answer.
Yeah, they're very interesting. Like that side is a lot. The Xeon kids have some really cool stuff. I like their stuff. But I'm a fan of the base Gundam stuff. I like the quirky, more kind of like less. I don't want to get into it. I like some of the designs that are kind of like less rigid and more organic, and I guess there's something to talk. We could have a discussion on mech design that I'm not prepared for.
We'll have that on another episode.
Yeah, we'll do that another time. But I am a Sawano fan. I'm really stoked. So of course I will be in there for Hathaway's Flash. I would be frustrated if I wasn't there for that.
It's gonna have a very grim ending. Just heads up.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Some people will die. Anyway, okay. So we kind of talked about Attack on Titan, and so this will be the last season of Attack on Titan coming up in 2020.
I don't know if that's a good thing. It feels like there's still so much story left, but It is what it is.
I guess we had kind of caught up pretty well with where they were at in the manga, and so they already said they're ending the manga too. So they're making a pretty big statement that it's ending. And so I just hope that it does end on step with the manga. That we hear, oh, it's over, the manga's over, before we hear that. Like I'm like on the final like episode of the freaking anime, and I'm like, guys, the manga's still going. That's not good.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that would be bad. That would be a Full Metal Alchemist situation. And so when I was younger, Full Metal Alchemist, when I saw the original series. And somebody was telling me about but the manga is different. It's better, dude. And it's like, Nah, Full Metal Alchemist is one of the the best anime I've ever seen. It's really great music, wonderful art, like just like high quality all around, right? Cool story. And then I saw like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and it was like, oh, I see what they were talking about.
I think I trolled you into watching Brotherhood.
You didn't want to watch Brotherhood.
No, I just
you
picked.
did not.
I was dogging it because I was in the same camp. I thought I was fanboying. I'll admit I was fanboying.
Yeah, we were both in the same camp with that, but we were like, you know what? There was some Children of the Corn stuff I was seeing on this one episode. Some really cool like alchemy stuff was happening. That's a show to watch. Needless to say, but yeah, Attack on Titan's ending. That's part one of my 2020 list. Try to move through that.
I only had one for 2020.
Oh, you only had... Okay, and so just want to throw out that people are still interested in seeing whether or not a Stone Ocean JoJo arc will end up getting made into anime form. I think it's an inevitability. As they continue to push into like the weird content that JoJo's universe has, though, I wonder how viewers are going to respond to how quirky or sexual they get with certain characters, and I wonder how comfortable certain people will be with that.
I think to a degree the fan base that's already watching it's already, they're on board with it.
Yeah, but I hear that. Also, we've got so we've been writing Dragon Ball Super reviews on the manga. The next issue actually drops on
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's December 19th right now. So it'll be December 20th. It'll be dropping probably in not too many hours. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, expect an article soon.
Yeah. But yeah, Dragon Ball Super. They had confirmed that they were working on a new movie. So that's going to be interesting to see what they come up with, or whether it comes after the Moro arc.
It could be interesting to see if they even do an adaptation of Moro's arc, which...
Oh, you mean in a movie or anime form?
Either or.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that Jump Festa is this weekend. They have some panels set up for the anime, so by the time this is online, we might be...
Pretty sure, yeah. By the time anyone listens to this, it'll be interesting to look back on or hear this again.
My prediction: there's going to be an anime announced this weekend.
You mean Dragon Ball Super Part 2 or something?
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super Z or something.
Yeah. We'll see, but for sure, if a movie will be coming, because that Dragon Ball Super movie was hot stuff.
It was crazy animated.
Yeah, and it got pretty good reviews. And a lot of people saw it. I think they were they were impressed with how well it did. So that's I think where we're at with the anime for 2019 and 20.
I'm looking forward to hearing Brawley's new voice actor in the next movie.
Oh man, that Mignon guy or Minot or whatever that. Oh, I don't know who that guy is. Whoever his previous voice actor.
That guy doesn't seem like anyone to me.
Yeah, I don't see. So that's 2019 and 20 with anime. So now we're going to be moving on to our discussion of games.
Okay. Well, the 2019 Switch dominated it for me. Like, they put out this list of your year in review for Switch, and until November, I had
Do you have those stats on you right now?
I don't have them on.
I took a screenshot. I sent them to you, but I have, just to kind of say it. I don't know if I should be proud of this, but this is the reality. It says that I played 838 hours of Switch games in 2019. 838 hours. Said my top 3 games were Dragon Quest Builders, Octopath Traveler, and Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash?
Really? Super Smash Brothers.
We played a lot of Smash.
Yeah. And I definitely played a lot on their campaign. It says that I played 67 different games on the Switch that year. That's a nightmare. I don't know how that's even possible.
I saw this one guy's list online because there's this thread on Reset Era where there people were...
Oh, no, you called out Reset Era.
I called out Reset Era.
You should not have done that.
But anyway, there's this thread on there where people were comparing their reviews, And this guy had like 123 hours on his Switch in 75 different games. I'm like,
How?
I have no idea.
What did he do? Like turn each one on and turn them off or something?
I think so. Like that's like maybe like an hour each game.
Yeah, he's an hour and a half on each game practically.
I wouldn't be proud of that.
That's nothing to be proud of there. So what you got? What's for 2019? What games do you want to talk about?
For 2019, the biggest surprise for me was the resurgence of the Saga series. For JRPG fans, it's always been kind of the black sheep of Square Enix's classic catalog. Because these are not well-designed games. But they are beautiful games. They are crazy games. And they have the best soundtracks in gaming. So we finally got, after 20 years, Romancing Saga 3 released in the United States. Which is fantastic. And then this month we got the newest game in the franchise, Saga Scarlet Grace, which I'm of mixed opinions on, to be honest. It's not the greatest game in the series, but there's some interesting ideas.
Yeah, my first impression when I had looked it up was that it seemed like it was a mobile game. Mike immediately responded that it was a PS Vita game, and I was going to say something rude like, not much of a difference there, right? but the PS Vita, I've been told, has a lot of great games. And
Sure.
yeah, sure. And
there's so many great games that Sony's committing to not releasing an extra.
yeah, they're killing that thing, and they're done with mobile. So, but yeah, I mean, big fan of the music from that series. Everything I've heard has been like shining.
Kenji Ito's a beast.
Yeah, so the Kenji Ito's got some pretty badass music. I have never played a Saga game.
That's not true. You've played Final Fantasy Legend.
See, that's the thing, is for Final Fantasy Legend, now that's the game I want released the way that I want it to be released. They had a 3DS version of Final Fantasy Legend 3 or 2 or something.
2 and 3.
Yeah, and they didn't bring it out here.
No, we didn't get either.
Unforgivable.
It is pretty That said, there is fan translations for both games.
Yeah, but I want it on my 3DS, and I don't want it on the computer. And then Final Fantasy Legend, they did not do one for English in the United States, because I would have been hot on that one in a second. These are some of like the original RPGs I played years ago. I hated them. The Legend 2 or whatever, I think I liked it, but then I liked it better. But I want to go back and I want to take them out.
I want a modern reimagining of Final Fantasy Legend 1. Kind of like what they did with Romancing Saga 1 for PS2, where they turned it into a PS2 game.
Mike, the first video game I ever made, back in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
It was when we were taking a video game design class together. I actually added this music from Final Fantasy Legend 2.
Was it the Wipe Away Your Tears?
No, I think that one, I put that was from Legend 1 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put them both in. So I really liked the music from those games, and I added them both to...
They're great.
Yeah, I added them both to that first game I made. And so, yeah.
I'm not ashamed to admit that 95% of the reason I love the Saga series is because of the music.
I hope that they make a full-fledged game someday that isn't like just have a world map that you click around, a lot of dialogue, and
no cutscenes.
Yeah, no cutscenes.
No dungeons.
Yeah.
No towns.
I hope that it's a full-fledged game. It seems like it deserves it. Then I might jump in on it late. Better late than never, they say. So, for me, 2019, one of the games that kind of like I had in the back burner, I think it came out in 17 for the Switch, maybe like late, like the fall, or it was early 18. I can't recall. No, I think it was 17. Yeah, it was Celeste.
Was it 17?
I think it was late 17 if it was. And
I didn't realize it was that old. No, it was 18.
It was at 18, you think?
Because I think I was in Chicago.
No, I think. Yeah, I'm just trying to recall. This may be edited out.
2018 January.
2018. All right, excellent. So
2018. So it's kind of been on the back burner. Celeste. It's a kind of like this kind of 2D platformer, kind of low res or pixel art almost. Really freaking phenomenal music. I should have this soundtrack's composer memorized off the top of my head, but you can definitely tell she was influenced by games like Chrono Trigger. Not to be kind of reductive in her influences, but there's a lot of like piano work in it, and it's basically a story about
bass stuff too.
Yeah, really good bass stuff. A lot of really great music, and so Celeste, kind of one of the reasons I went back to it. I had gotten over halfway through, and I was like going completionist with it. So because I couldn't beat this one level, because I didn't want to commit time and effort to it, I kind of left it on the back burner. It was in my backlog, and then they released an epilogue to Celeste this year, which was ridiculously difficult. And I'm super glad that I didn't even make any attempt at playing it until I went through and wiped out the entirety of like the content of the main game. Turns out you have to take everything you've learned in the previous, everything else you had to beat, just to even like be able to manage some of the levels, like platforming gimmicks. And also there's like a point where they gate you. You can't actually pass through and complete the epilogue unless you've beaten every piece of content in the game. So it's very interesting that they did that, because I will tell you that the vast majority of people who played Celeste probably got nowhere close to beating the game in its entirety.
I know on my part, I think I beat the first 3 levels, and then I gave up because it just got too hard.
Has all these is like hard modes of each level, like this kind of B-side mixtape kind of thing, and then eventually a C-side, and then it was phenomenal. It was an emotional story. It was one of the greatest video game experiences I've ever had. I never wrote an article on it because I guess it just deserved more. It's just the way it teaches you how to play the game. I could see it being like the best gaming experience of 2019 for me. But yeah, that's probably what makes it relevant for 19.
Okay, that's cool. I think around the same time you were playing Celeste, I was playing Link's Awakening. Growing up, Link's Awakening was my favorite Zelda, so I was interested when they announced it at E3 this year. And then I saw the way it looked, and I wasn't as excited as I wanted to be. But I gave it a chance. I played it. It's good. It's not great. It's not as great as I remember it. Maybe it's just because of the version. I didn't like some of the changes that they added to this version. I felt that they added a lot of busy work. I did like the chamber dungeons, though. That was something that a lot of reviewers thought was a negative. I thought they were kind of cool. They weren't like the best thing ever, but I had fun with them.
I thought they were kind of whatever. I am not, too frustrated with them. I would like them more if I could share them. Similar to Mario Maker. The fact that I would need an amiibo or something like that to do that is pretty disappointing. It should be a core function that I could...
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that complaint, though, is less... Like, once I get into that, I kind of want to complain more about the nature of the Switch. Or maybe game consoles in general. I wish I could send messages from a console to other people, or content. Like, I take a picture... I don't want to post it to social media. I want to send it to my friend. Like, you're one of my friends. I should be able to send you content. Maybe you have a limit in your inbox.
I think like Xbox and PlayStation have some stuff like that. Switch absolutely doesn't. It should.
It really, really should, because there's like moments that I really want to share with Mike that I'm like, oh my God, look at this. Or I have this level, I want to share it to Mike. That chamber dungeon thing, it would have given it a lot more legs. Be like, oh, check out this. I made a boss run dungeon or something.
I tried doing a boss run.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but like to actually get through. But yeah, I mean that chamber dungeon could have been a lot cooler. And I agree with you. Like Link's Awakening, it's as good as the original, not better. I didn't see anything that made it that much better that it deserved this kind of new reformatting. Plus, it was $60 or whatever. So it's like,
keep in mind this was a game that was $30 20 years ago, and then you can still buy it in some places, like on Nintendo's own infrastructure, for $5.
yeah, and the music was still good back in the old days. There's some songs I prefer the old format for. I don't know. It's good though. It's good.
It's good. I mean, it's a solid game. We recommended it on our review, but it's not great.
Yeah. Well, okay. Oh boy. I don't know. I have this game written here, and it could probably take up a vast majority of the time. So I'm going to probably talk about a couple games real quick.
Okay.
And so there's a game, a platformer, a Metroidvania called Iconoclast that had come out a while ago, and I actually picked it up. I forgot the guy, this guy Cognac or something that made the game. It's a fantastic game. I actually really like the story. You got to beat it, Mike. I convinced you into getting it, but like you need to push through on it because
there was like a period of time where Tristan went heavy into the Metroidvania genre on Switch. I think out of his like 800 plus hours, like at least half are Metroidvanias.
Yeah, I've come to the conclusion that the perfect game design style or type to like give you the most flexibility and just do whatever you wanted to do, the most versatile is the Metroidvania. It's unfortunate, yes, we're using the term Metroidvania because it's well known in the industry.
It's stuck.
By using that language, you further perpetuate its use. I understand, and it's reductive. It's highly reductive. It's like a 2D platformer that has maybe puzzle aspects to it and a map.
A vertical map.
Yeah, gated progression. Well, that's the thing is what is it called? The Iconoclast. It's not always vertical, right? It has vertical aspects, or it could have horizontal. You can have very very flat design, and so that one's really good. I really recommend Iconoclast. It has a lot of commentary on religion. Similar game that also Weeabuds reviewed was Blasphemous, which was another Metroidvania, which further shows what you can do with a Metroidvania style game design. Just imagine Hollow Knight. If you've played Hollow Knight, that game is just phenomenal. I hate to say, I got to talk about Dark Souls. Dark Souls, it takes this formula of Dark Souls and it puts it in this kind of cutesy bug world. And then you've got Blasphemous, which takes this Dark Souls style and then puts it in a freaking, puts it in a Catholic or kind of medieval Spanish folklore kind of format. So it's just, you can do so much with it. And Iconoclast was not so much like a Dark Souls, but it had a story. It was heavily narrative focused. So this is where it kind of is very different from the other ones. It has a lot of dialogue. I felt this was a good year in regards to Metroidvanias, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
It was also a good year for Dragon Quest. I mean, we're both Dragon Quest fans.
Oh yeah.
Two very excellent Dragon Quest games came out on the Switch this year. One of them, Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of Elusive Age Definitive Edition S
plus whatever.
It's a port of the PlayStation 4 version with some added content. It's absolutely the best version of the game to play. If you're gonna play one version of Dragon Quest XI, play the Switch version. I've played, I think, every version of it. I have the 3DS version. I played the PS4 version, and I played about halfway through the Switch version. Switch version's the best, especially the 2D mode. Don't sleep on the 2D mode.
Yeah, I have to play more of that game, and I guess once we get to Death Stranding, I'll be done with Death Stranding in not too long, which is gonna break my heart. But I think I'll at some point need to hit that RPG. We'll see what my spring looks like. But I played a little bit. It's
gonna be a busy spring.
It seems like it'll be a busy spring, so I don't know how many games I'll be playing all the time. I'll need to be playing some games but I just don't know what I'll be doing there.
Make sure you circle back to 11 because it's a game that deserves to be played.
Yeah, and so I know one game we both played that we were like heavily invested in was Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Yes, absolutely. Builders 2 was... I played the first Builders game as a Dragon Quest fan. I thought it was good. I didn't beat it, I'm ashamed to say. But I liked it. I respected it. I liked what they did with the Minecraft formula. I think it's better than Minecraft. Builders 2 took every... And there's a certain reviewer that I like. He did not like Builders 2. I thought his complaints were bogus. Builders 2 is an absolute joy of a game. It's one of the best games on the Switch, secretly.
Yeah.
Both in terms of story and gameplay. They took the lore of one of the Dragon Quest games and really built upon that foundation and turned it into something special.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know how other reviewing kind of websites do it, where they have to choose a winner, like a game of the year type thing, because it would be very tough. It'd be between two games, and one of those would definitely be Dragon Quest Builders. Dragon Quest Builders was...
Builders 2.
Builders 2, that's right. Builders 2 was an achievement, for sure. It took the storytelling heights that the Dragon Quest series kind of is capable of. It took that charm, that gravity, and then applied it to this kind of crafting world that they had set up with Builders 1. Builders 1 kind of, it was a little bit disjointed, disconnected, but with Builders 2, what they've done is they really make you invested in the characters and the stories, and there's a mystery, and they keep pushing, and it's phenomenal.
It is. Play it. Absolutely. Yeah. If you haven't played it yet, like, Weeabuds strongly endorses Builders 2.
Yeah, Builders 2 is good. So this year was also the year of the Goose Game. I had seen like a random like trailer for it a while back, and I was like, this game looks ridiculous. I was looking for something that my girlfriend could get into, and and I don't think she got into it too much when I finally got it, but like actually I was at your house and I downloaded it into your thing. You're like, what the hell is this? And I was like, it's the Goose Game, and
Untitled Goose Game,
and man, that game blew up and became a meme, and it was so weird that it did. And it is so strange.
I could see why, though. I mean, there's a lot of memeable moments in that.
I had no idea. I just thought it looked charming and interesting, and I was like, ducks are kind of my favorite Pokemon is Psyduck, and although we haven't played any Pokemon games, really,
we full disclosure, I'm still working on Pokemon Ultra Sun. I made a vow to Tristan that I would not play Sword or Shield until I beat Ultra Sun, because he really wants me to beat it, and he actually bought me it. I have a long ways to go. I'm only like 2 islands in.
Yeah. But, no. Did you have Pokemon on your list of things to talk about, Mike?
No, because I didn't play it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's just got to mention, it's like kind of a heavy shadow is cast across us. That huge release in 2019 was Pokemon Sword and Shield. Neither of us have downloaded it.
Looked at it.
Neither of us plan to. I had I got you the Ultra Sun.
I think you got me Moon.
Yeah.
And then you got me Ultra Sun because I didn't beat Moon.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that you beat that someday, because I really liked where they took that game. I don't want to play Sword and Shield until I got Mike on the team with that. Also, I've heard it's kind of simplified certain aspects of the game that were maybe considered grindy. I don't know how to feel about that yet. I guess I'm going to find out, because sometimes I like that grind.
Everyone's talking about Dexit, and Dexit's fine.
What does that even mean again?
It's where they removed all of the Pokemon or something.
Oh, the Dex. Pokedex.
The Pokedex.
And the Brexit plus Pokedex.
I'm more concerned about HM exit. Until they bring back HMs, I'm not playing that series.
That's fake. That's an incendiary comment. worthy of a clickbait article that you need to write. You need to write that article ASAP.
I think I will, actually.
Like, go make a note, grab a piece of paper, write that article, because that's what we need on this website. But anyway, but anyway, yeah, no, I'm I'm turned off by the removal of other Pokemon. My girlfriend, she had heard about Dexit, and she's like, it's a trick. She likes to say that to me. She's like, it's a trick.
It's absolutely a trick.
She's like, it's a trick. You can never actually capture them all.
You're like, oh, really?
She's like, they're always adding more. And I was like, it's worse, actually, honey. It's worse because they are also removing the ones that you caught. So it doesn't even matter. It's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, what does catching them all mean now?
Didn't they change the motto of the series? It's just like just gotta catch them or something.
No way, because it's they should. It makes sense that if they did that, that'd be a huge marketing like thumbs up, because it's like when KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, it's like they changed it to something else. Kitchen Fresh Chicken. At some point, someone said that.
What?
Yeah, did you hear that?
I didn't hear
KFC was
about
called Kitchen Fresh Chicken. They were going to change their name. Never change your name, KFC. People want that delicious fried chicken. Fried chicken is good. It's a force of good in this world. Anyway, back to
one game I need to finish still, Astral Chain. It was a game I was hyped for. It's a good-looking game, probably one of the best-looking games on the Switch. Every time I'd go to play it, I'd fall asleep.
The game, you can't fall asleep in that game. There's stuff to do. You're playing the levels, you can't fall asleep.
The investigation stuff. I mean, the investigation stuff was cool, but, I get off work, go to play a game, and then they're like, go run around, collect evidence, and then just pass out.
Some of the investigation stuff is routine, especially because it just becomes a formula at some point where you go collect the info, come together, and then put the pieces together. I guess I like that. I kind of get thrown off by the kind of differences between the game styles. Like at some point I'm like fighting, and then suddenly I'm trying to investigate something.
You think it could have been more smooth?
I don't know if maybe I'm just picking at it. I think the game is excellent. I haven't beaten it either. I got pretty far. At least I think I got far. And then I stopped. I think I also was thinking too completionist like with it. Sometimes with a game like that, I could see myself getting.
That's kind of where I got hung up too. I don't think you're supposed to go into it too completionist.
I've been realizing that there's some games I need to kind of back off on with that mentality, but that's a game I kind of need to just knock out. But I just don't have the energy to do it right now.
There was some cool stuff going on with the story for sure.
Cool art style.
I think like the artist was like a famous manga artist. Right?
Yeah. I forgot what his name was. That's the sort of thing you need to know when you have a website like Weeabuds.
That's true.
But okay, so I got a couple more things on my list. What do you got, Mike?
That's the ones I want to talk about for.
So I've got Smash Brothers. We can both kind of discuss that. So a lot of So Smash Brothers came out at the end of 2018, but it was considered as Game of the Year 2019 contestant for a lot of different game awards. Mm-hmm. So Smash Brothers is the culmination of many years. Smash Ultimate is the culmination of just all the previous series. It's like a refinement of the formula. It seems definitively the best Smash.
Overall, yeah. I mean, especially in terms of like the multiplayer aspect. Like if you're just pure battle mode, it's the best version. I kind of like the 3DS version's single-player modes more. But overall, in terms of, like, characters, stages, fighting mechanics, Smash Ultimate, hands down. Best roster. They brought in, against all miracles, they actually have the hero from Dragon Quest as a playable character now.
Amazing that they've done that. What an achievement.
Praise be Vergaben.
Yeah. That leaker, right?
Yeah, the leaker.
Why are we praising a leaker?
Because he leaked that stuff like 4 months before it was announced.
I don't know how I feel about these leaks. Some leaks are good, some leaks are bad. It's not spoiling a story. It's at a minimum. I think it induces hype.
Yeah.
It sells, like, that's... What's the surprise that a character is going to be released? It's like people, they hear that a character might be released. It's when the leaker is kind of like their word is taken for gospel.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it probably ruins a lot of the momentum of the announcement. I think this. I don't know. I have a complex feeling about the leaker.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'll admit a lot of my fun with Ultimates come from just like reading these fake leaks. I troll Tristan a lot with them. It's one of my biggest joys in life.
But I also get we also get excited when they announce a character that was like, oh my god, right? It would just be more impactful if we didn't know. We can be patient.
Terry. I actually was pretty hyped by Terry. I didn't know who he was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
when they announced Hero, even though it was leaked, I was at work listening to the stream, the Nintendo Direct, and the Dragon Quest music came on. I had to fight back screaming and like crying. So even though I knew it was coming, the fact that it was like confirmed and real, I still had that excitement.
Smash Ultimate, I'm really hoping that we get to this new era of gaming, Mike, where, you know, that whole games as a service thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, let's commit. With a game like Smash Ultimate, this should be like alive forever. Fortnite is a game that does not need like, as an example, we didn't play Fortnite really. You played a lot of Fortnite.
I played a decent amount of Fortnite. I thought it was fine until I started being horrified by my nephew's stories of Fortnite.
Yeah, well, so that's a conversation about skins and like those microtransaction
whales.
And your nephew has become a whale.
My nephew is the whale.
Yeah, he's a whale funded by your mom, his grandma, and so that's horrifying. The reality of profit in that sort of game industry, but it's a free game, so. But
not so much.
It's a dark, like, so if you ever see a game and it's free, be scared. You know, you're like walking on, like, who knows what kind of territory that is, really.
Oh yeah,
they're making their money somehow, but people know that. But so you've got a game like Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like it needs a second game.
To be honest,
I mean, it's a free game anyway.
Yeah, they could just keep updating indefinitely.
I mean, World of Warcraft is a similar kind of thing. It's not there's not going to be a World of Warcraft 2. It's just a continually revised infrastructure.
Yeah, and I think like with Fortnite and World of Warcraft, like if they were to release a Warcraft 2 or a Fortnite 2, they'd be cannibalizing their product.
Yeah, and so at this point, it's amazing to even talk about Smash Brothers in the same kind of league as these other games we just mentioned, because there's just so many fighters, so much balancing of content at this point that it almost makes more sense for them to carry that infrastructure forward, and instead of releasing a new game, they just continuously update or modify or change things or add new ways to play it. I don't think that's going to happen with this one. It should, though. I think this is the one where there should not be another Smash. This should be there's no way they could ever, like you've said, maybe reset the franchise or do a reset. That doesn't make sense, right? I mean, if you really
that's like basically if they were to release a new Smash, like that's
the only way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that. That's why my conclusion is they shouldn't release another Smash. But it's so profitable. Mm-hmm. So, but I think that they can rely on a different profitability model and just have an ever-expanding suite of characters to rely on.
At this point, I think that's what the consumer base wants. I think they're at the point where they've reached, like, you can't do that much more with the Smash formula unless you fundamentally change it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't think people want the Smash formula changed. I think they want new characters and stages.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want... This isn't Pokemon where they always have to throw in a new gimmick, where they're kind of constantly under critique from reviewers looking for some new kind of experience. It's like games can be refined, but this is a type of game. It's a very particular kind of game that other games have not been able to really compete with. It's its own unique genre of fighting. It's a family-friendly game that's also a fighter.
I don't know if Bayonetta's family-friendly.
Bayonetta is very odd as a character in that series, but I don't want to get into that. But that's the thing where I'm just thinking, like, maybe there would be another one, but it would.
Well, there'll be another one eventually.
Well, like
I don't want it for a while though.
But if there is another one, it should be like built with that mentality that they're going to have all these characters come back again.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, this one was everyone's here or whatever, right? That's their kind of slogan for this one.
They also have a problem with the fact that now such a huge portion of the roster is third party that those contracts are tricky. Like every one of those third party characters is a blessing.
Yeah. There's a lot that could be talked about with how Square Enix must have handled their negotiation of Cloud in Smash Brothers. Because there's only two songs, yeah.
No spirits.
Yeah. There's something really bad that happened there. And
it's called they asked for a lot of money.
I'm really concerned with Square Enix and the state of what they're doing. Oh my god, there's a lot of... There'll be a point to talk about Final Fantasy VII here in a second. And it's looming 2020 release. Or whatever. It's not Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's something. But we'll talk about that in a second. So do you have any more 2019 notes?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, well, check this out. So the last 2019 point to talk about, you just can't end this conversation. I didn't know
to be honest, I almost forgot that we hadn't talked about it.
Yeah, well, that's because what I hadn't realized on the list that we had come up with is that we probably could have talked about Smash a lot more. Like, we cut that conversation short just now. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a lot to talk about with Smash. But man, there's a lot to talk about with Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima has done it again. Tim Rogers from Kotaku.com discovered Tim Rogers this year as well. And that guy's a trip, actually. I love it. But Death Stranding, what a game. What a phenomenally unique experience. I don't think it's an experience for everyone because nothing is an experience for everyone. And I think that experiences that are for everyone are a certain kind of experience. And that the moment that we're trying to make a game to satisfy every single person, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality of a profit-driven kind of like consumer product, which games really are at the end of the day. But Death Stranding was built with a singular vision of delivering packages to people.
It's the cream of the crop of walking simulators.
It's unfortunate that you brought up Walking Simulator.
I use that term facetiously because whoever says it's a walking simulator, they probably spent about an hour of the beginning of the game. It evolves beyond being a, quote, walking simulator very, very early on.
There's so much more than just walking in that game. And it's kind of interesting that people would like point that out. Like, what about all the other games where you walk? Are those walking simulators? Are we ignoring all the other content in Death Stranding?
I've probably spent... I'm about 60 hours in. I haven't beaten it yet. I'm going to eventually. I'm taking my time with it because I love the game. I spent maybe like 3 hours walking. Probably cumulatively. Most of the time I'm doing a lot of other stuff such as like zip lining, building infrastructure, fighting terrorists like in most games.
Yeah, always find them terrorists in games, right? But like you're doing things in that game. You're not just delivering a package, or you run into things while you're delivering the package. That's the point. It gives you an experience, or basically delivering a package gives you an excuse to experience the intentionally designed terrain, the different kind of situations that require you building an infrastructure, you actually being intentional with how you're controlling the character. You're not just holding forward. I'd read in some other articles that one of the things that Death Stranding does is it takes traversal in an open world game and it makes it mean something other than getting from point A to point B. Like when you fast travel in Death Stranding, it has a specific purpose, but the way you play that game is by traveling, by moving through the game to achieve specific objectives. So a lot of different tools, and the thing about Death Stranding that I really like, the thing that sells it for me, are all of the little systems, the tools and things that they slowly kind of unravels in the game. I'm less hooked by the narrative and even the music.
Music's pretty good, though.
Yeah, the music's excellent. There's some interesting and really cool story bits. It's got a unique story. There's a lot of really great. The animation and graphics are fantastic. If you've ever seen games running on the Decima engine, if you've seen Horizon Zero Dawn, you got something pretty. You're probably going to look at. But Death Stranding is amazing. It's an amazing game. Hideo Kojima is a shining god. Definitely edit that.
I wasn't excited for Death Stranding when they first announced it. I thought it looked okay. I'm like, okay, there's Norman Reedus on a beach, naked. That's cool. I didn't get excited for Death Stranding until probably about a week before they released the game. They put out this amazing trailer. It's like probably one of the best game trailers I've ever seen. And then the reviews came out and people slammed it. And so I started to get nervous. And I started to play it and quickly warmed up to it. It's one of my favorite... It's my favorite gaming experience this year. In terms of the gameplay mechanics, it's incredibly deep. And I think it's a shame that people haven't really reflected on that deepness. Tristan pointed out that the game does an excellent job of rolling out its gameplay mechanics. And it does it in a way that's not hand-holdy at all. Every 5 hours or so, I'd say they probably roll out like a substantial new gameplay mechanic.
That's a new element that changes how you can approach the world.
Yeah, and it's a game that's constantly evolving. I have my theories on why reviewers didn't like it. I think a big part of it is that they played it before the social strand system really took off.
That social strand system is something else, isn't it? What an amazing thing, too. That not only can you build structures in the world to help you manage the terrain, but you actually see and can interact with other player structures that they've built in their world. And they kind of overlay, and they're there in your own world, and you can take advantage of that infrastructure. It's critical that you take advantage of it for you to actually enjoy the game and just manage some of the tasks that you have to do. I would be less inclined to do some of the work that you have to do in Death Stranding if all I did was walk.
Well, it'd be such an empty world without it. The fact that, how do I say it? Basically, before you connect to each region's chiral network, it's like an empty environment. The moment you plug them in, it just pops to life.
Yeah. And every item in the game, other than a watchtower, every kind of structure you can build, like, makes a huge impact on the game. Like even the post boxes, which are just kind of these kind of unassuming, these little boxes you can drop packages into. They're a really good way of picking up likes quickly. So
smash them likes.
Yeah, you can smash likes are like the currency of the game and stuff. But like you can drop packages into a box and then you'll get a bunch of likes, and then the likes like improve your stats or something. But like we also kind of recently discovered when we were comparing our games, that the terrain changes based on how you move through it. So the game that Mike is experiencing is actually different than the one that I experienced. It's very trippy, and they didn't really sell that point of it too heavily.
I never read it anywhere.
Yeah, and so I've heard it once before. I can't recall when, but it was like a throwaway thing. It wasn't emphasized. But it's a huge kind of point that, like, it's an achievement for sure for the game.
It's akin to Animal Crossing's mechanics where you walk around on grass, except for they take it to the next level where like there's like giant boulders that can disappear as you crash into them over and over again.
Yeah,
and you won't even notice it while you're doing it. It's something that you come back later, all of a sudden that boulder's gone.
It's slowly eroding terrain as you go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And other players that are connected to you likely impact that terrain as well. Very interesting stuff. So Death Stranding is great.
Shout out to my boy Die Hard Man.
Yeah, okay, so Die Hard Man is a character that is in Death Stranding. I gotta get the name specific. So Die Hard Man is a character in Death Stranding that is voice acted by this one actor named Tommy Earl Jenkins.
Did he do the mocap? Did he do the mocap?
He's the whole thing. Did the mocap, the voicing. This guy is excellent. Like, he's kind of your primary facilitator throughout the game, but this guy, he's a really good voice actor, and you could tell he's really taking the game seriously. And yeah, later on in the game, he's got some pretty stupid knockout stuff in the game. He apparently, the character Die Hard Man, who's kind of the commander of Bridges, which is this kind of outfit for delivering packages and reconnecting the United Cities of America. He's voice acted by the Japanese voice actor for Snake.
Really?
Yeah, in Japan, so the Japanese version. So he's a really important character. He's got some really amazing scenes. I'm a huge Mads Mikkelsen fan, and he plays this character in the game as well, who's in a lot of different cutscenes and other parts. And I think that I'm a huge Mads Mikkelsen fan. I've been a fan of him for a bit. And as much as I'm a fan of him, and I voted for him for Game Awards Performance of the Year or whatever, but like, I really wanted to vote for Tommy Earl Jenkins though, because he's the best voice actor in the game. And there's good voice acting in the game. Like, Norman Reedus is cool for whatever he's trying to do.
He's Norman Reedus.
Yeah. He's pretty good though. This is the most alive I've seen Norman Reedus. Like, more, and like some of his stuff at the end of the game is like tear jerking. And so I could see Norman Reedus getting nominated. I understand it. I see why Mads Mikkelsen would, but comparatively, there's some stuff is missing out. Like, Tommy Earl Jenkins should have got in there. So definitely check out Tommy Earl Jenkins' stuff. He's done some other work. He's actually part of this one children's TV show called Go Jetters.
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely check out some of the stuff. Death Stranding is a fantastic game. I hope that if we don't get a sequel, maybe we get DLC. And if we don't get that, I'm going to be fine too, because I know Kojima is going to be out there in the wild and that he's got a distinct style. He's confirmed it. Metal Gear wasn't just a fluke. There was something that he was in charge and taking control of. He kind of deserves that title of auteur or whatever. And I can't wait to see what he does next, even if it's completely different.
I think 10 years from now, you're going to see Death Stranding reevaluated. It's already a cult hit. A lot of positivity online. You'll see defenders of it. It'll be a classic.
Okay, so could definitely keep talking about Death Stranding. I'd love to. Probably maybe have a podcast dedicated to Death Stranding after we both finish it.
We're basically a Death Stranding fan site.
Yeah. I'll be done with Death Stranding in a couple days or less. Probably a day. It'll be done tomorrow. I don't want to see. It's probably going to be done tonight. Okay, so anything else in 2019?
That's all I got.
Okay, so what do you got for 2020? What are you looking forward to?
I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but Final Fantasy VII Remake. You can't talk about 2020 without acknowledging that that's upon us very soon. Final Fantasy VII, I'll admit, is one of my favorite games. There's a lot of fanboy bias going into this. Can't escape it. It's one of the defining games of my life. And graphically, Final Fantasy VII Remake looks great. Midgar's awesome. Cloud looks cool. I just question, why do they need to break it up into installments? Why does the Midgar section of the game need to be its own game? Along with that means they're going to have to restructure the narrative, which worked perfectly fine originally. Gameplay-wise, I'll be okay with it. I don't really like action RPGs that much, but I think they're doing a good enough job reimagining Final Fantasy VII's battle system. I just think that the pacing's going to take a huge hit for this story. They're going to overburden it with noise.
Yeah, they're intentionally going to do that because they're trying to fill it out. They're trying to pad it. They see it as an opportunity to make money. It's guaranteed income for them.
It's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they're really leaning into that. I guess that's just how it is. How the only way to make Final Fantasy VII in this day and age, with the type of technology and the style that Square Enix has kind of moved towards with games, this is how it's got to be, What's more concerning is like things like that Scorpion battle, like you mentioned. It's like padded out, like takes like 20 minutes to get through a single boss battle.
And not even like a major boss battle. It's
multiple phases, and it's just like, what is going on in this? It was so bad that when they were demoing it, they were showing it, they had to fast forward, skip apart like around in parts. That was so bad.
Did you catch that they're trying to take away Avalanche's culpability in terms of terrorism? They in the original game, for those that don't know, the first segment of the game is you're bombing a energy reactor. And so you go in, you fight a boss, you set a bomb, and then you run away. In this version, they set the bomb down. The boss comes out. They fight the boss. In the middle of the battle, the boss hits the bomb with like a tail laser, causing the bomb to start like going off. So
yeah, good luck trying to take away the fact that they're legit a terrorist group. They're environmentalists. I wonder how they'll approach that message. That when they released that game, it was like kind of like an anti-corporate kind of message.
I think they'll still be anti-corporate.
We'll see. Their Square Enix has become super corporate, so I wonder what it definitely evolves away from that message though, and goes into traditional like sci-fi type tropes as you continue to play through 7. A lot of people played through that, so I imagine they understand where we're coming from with that.
One of the things I worry about for the first version is the early inclusion of Sephiroth. I mean, Sephiroth's iconic. Everyone loves Sephiroth, I know. But like the first Midgar section should really focus on that anti-corporate stuff. Like it's kind of like a big twist that suddenly they swerve right with the inclusion of Sephiroth, but from all appearances, it looks like they're gonna introduce him into the story as early as possible.
Yeah. So it's 2020. It's gonna be a throwback for other games as well. So we've got Panzer Dragoon Remake, which is a remake of the original Panzer Dragoon that was on Sega Saturn. So that's actually being developed by a separate team.
Not the original team?
Not the original team, no. But there's going to be a lot of the content's going to be kind of redone. But there's going to be you're going to pay respect to the original, and that's their goal.
I'm actually not too familiar with the Panzer Dragoon series. Like, what kind of games are they?
Well, so basically it's kind of an on-rails aerial shooter where it's similar to Star Fox. I'm going to compare it to that. The difference is that you can actually switch to different angles while riding on this dragon. Basically, you're a person with kind of the gun thing that you can basically kind of see an enemy and then mark it to be shot by the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
You can also shoot with it, and so basically you can turn to the left of the dragon, or the right of the dragon, or behind the dragon, and so you can fight enemies in those different angles. So it's pretty cool. It's interesting. It had great music. It had a kind of
who's the composer?
I forget, but I should know that one once again. But it had great music and great art direction. It was a unique looking game, and it had like a tone. It was kind of usually like a melancholy, kind of sad type tone. And the last Panzer Dragoon game that had come out was Panzer Dragoon Orta. Was the only reason I bought an Xbox. That's the actual reason I bought it. I was like, I really needed to play it, and so I bought an Xbox just to play that game.
Did they have a Panzer Dragoon on Dreamcast? I thought I remembered one.
I don't think so. The last Panzer Dragoon I had played before Panzer Dragoon Orta was Panzer Dragoon Zwei. Yeah, apparently it's a German word. So
for 2.
What?
It's German for 2.
Oh, okay. I get it now. So, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm just gonna go through my list real quick just to knock it out. They had announced Breath of the Wild. I think it was at Breath of the Wild 2.
Will they call it Breath of the Wild 2?
Probably not. If it does, it'll be called... Maybe it will be called that, and it'll have like a second subtitle.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, The Revival of Ganon.
Yeah, Ganondorf is in this thing in some capacity, and that's badass. So people who say otherwise, it's like, okay, well, how about we just get rid of Link? How about we get rid of Zelda? Let's get rid of them both, right?
Just get rid of all of them.
Yeah, why have it in Hyrule?
Have Tingle be the main character.
Like, it's like there are certain things that Super Mario Brothers, it's gonna have Mario in it. Why wouldn't it? It's a different game, different franchise, so it should have Link in it. Yeah. It should have Zelda in it. They can twist it up how you play with who and whatever they want to do. Weird things with that. That's fine. I'm sure, right? Mm-hmm. They just got to do it well, and they can. I know that they can do anything well. Ganondorf, getting rid of him, switching to a different bot. They should realize that villains are just as charismatic, or more so, than the heroes. And there's a certain soul that the character portrays. There was something meaningful to Ganondorf. This kind of frustrated from like a region in the world that was a little bit more disparaged. There's some like kind of economic message that Ganondorf was carrying too. There was something a little bit more that they were trying to pitch with Ganondorf in Wind Waker, at least. So I'd like to see maybe a little bit more of Ganondorf, not just Ganon.
Yeah, I agree. I'm okay with them going away from Ganon every so often, but ultimately, like, the core of the Zelda series should be the relationship between Link, Zelda, and Ganon. Like, they've made it pretty clear that, like, those three, their souls are, like, tied together.
Yeah, and I like it. I like what they did in... So one thing is Skyward Sword, maybe not the most perfect game, but I like what they did with...
Demise.
Well, they did this thing where Zelda, apparently, spoilers for a game that's old as hell now.
10 years.
Yeah, basically. And so it's like Zelda is a reincarnation of this goddess called Hylia. And guess what? Freaking Ganondorf is a reincarnation of this kind of demon called Demise. And there's like a story there as well. And so Link is almost kind of the middleman. And he's just like a hero that was cursed by Demise to come back and be haunted. So it's to me, actually, Link is kind of the odd one out. But it does, I do agree, it should revolve around those three.
I don't know if I'd say Link's like the odd one out, because,
he's not a god.
He's not a god.
The other two
but,
are
in terms of like mythology, it's always like the man or like the human. That's
the grounded element.
Yeah, the grounded element. He's like
the one in between these two forces, good and
evil. He's caught in like these supernatural dealings.
Yeah. So they announced Bravely Default 2 at the Game Awards.
Not confusing at all.
Yeah, not confusing that they had a game called Bravely Second that was not composed by Revo. And Bravely Default 2 will be composed by Revo. So the first Bravely Default game, which is, an RPG that was kind of like Final Fantasy, it had wonderful art. It was for the 3DS. It had a really cool, engaging battle system, and it just had phenomenal music. By far, the best aspect of that game was its outstanding soundtrack by Revo.
It certainly wasn't its story.
Yeah, the story was cool up to a point, and then it was kind of like, oh boy.
Battle system's cool.
Yeah. Maybe the story was excellent all the way through. It's just the way that they kind of executed the story in-game was some of the worst stuff I've ever seen.
It was a cool idea. I could see why they went for the approach they did. They shouldn't have.
They were brave, you know what I mean? It's similar to like Death Stranding, where it's like a game designer wanted to be brave.
Except for one person has like a lot of confidence and vision.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the Bravely team did.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't do what they should have there. So that's gonna be cool. Can't wait to hear more about that.
Can't wait for more Revo.
Yeah, Revo. Oh yeah. So I'm a big fan of Armored Core games. Throughout the Dark Souls conversation previously with Metroidvania, and so Armored Core is a game by that same studio, From Software, and so there have been rumors that maybe an Armored Core.
It used to be their flagship.
Well, I loved it, and it's one of the reasons I had wanted to do game design and computer graphics back in the day. So I'm really interested in seeing if there is a game for that, and of course. Anyone who hasn't played Hollow Knight, I understand if you haven't, but because it's kind of a tough game.
Another fantastic game, though.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's got good music, good art direction. It's got a vision.
Made by like 3 people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And so that game is going to come out maybe in 2020.
I think so.
And it's called Silk Song. The sequel, actually, it's a sequel to Hollow Knight. It was originally just going to be DLC following Hornet, but it's actually going to be a full game sequel, and it seems like it's progressing quite well. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's basically my 2020.
The last game I want to highlight for 2020 that I'm looking forward to is Square Enix is remaking Seiken Densetsu 3 as a Switch game called Trials of Mana. Growing up in the early 2000s, Seiken Densetsu 3 had this reputation of being this lost NES gem. It's a sequel to Secret of Mana. It's far better than Secret of Mana. And I'm really excited to see this new imagining of this classic game. And on top of that, we actually got the original game last year. So if you want to try that, try it out. But definitely try the remake. I'm looking forward to it.
You're going to try to get me on the remake, right?
You're gonna at least look at the remake a few times.
Okay, we'll see what happens there.
And no, it's really cool. Basically, like the concept is there's like at the beginning of the game there's 6 characters. You pick 3 of them, and the game cobbles together its story based on which 3 you pick. There's all sorts of variations, so there's tons of replayability. It's a cool kind of somber tale. All 6 characters have pretty interesting backgrounds. At least for the SNES game, it was mechanically one of the better action RPGs for the Super Nintendo. It's not as good as Terranigma, but I liked Seiken Densetsu 3 a lot. Musically, it's fantastic. Another Kenji Ito soundtrack.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Now I got my attention.
So yeah, it's gonna be a treat, and I'm hoping that it's gonna turn out okay.
2020 seems like it'll be very interesting. A
lot of revisiting from the past.
Yeah, but I'm also interested in what hasn't been announced. There'll be some stuff.
E3. You got the new consoles coming out. We're gonna see some stuff there.
That's pretty upsetting. I don't want another PS.
You just got a PS4.
Yeah, I just got a PS4 to play Death Stranding, playing through Horizon Zero Dawn, which is I'm really late to that, and that is that gets pretty phenomenal pretty quickly. But more to come on all that.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's wraps it up for this episode. See you guys in 2020.
It was a big episode. They probably won't be as rushed as this one.
Yeah, it won't be as rushed. Definitely won't be cracking on 2 hours long.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking
got a lot to go through. Yeah,
a lot to go through. We'll see you guys next year. You can follow us in the meantime on www.weeabuds.com. We're also on Twitter at Weeabuds.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.